So my name is Tero Kuittinen, it's good to be here, and I have three real experts on novel trends in customer acquisition here. We have Andie Simon, who's a leading expert in music licensing for games. In 2005, Andie was working at Warner Music when a small project called Guitar Hero came out, and Andie had an integral role in creation of that.
Yeah, yeah. I was lucky enough to see an early version of Guitar Hero, and loved it, and got to know the folks at Harmonix, and I've just had a great time licensing all of our music to it. So it was
and
great.
In some ways, that was the start of heavy using of
Yeah.
music licensing in modern gaming
Yeah,
industry.
yeah.
And then we have Peter Novotny from NativeX. NativeX is one of the largest mobile ad networks in the world, and they specialize in using video advertising in particularly novel and innovative ways. And then Henry Lowenfels, who's the VP of BizDev at Scopely. And we Finns know that one of the spectacularly successful Walking Dead games is made in Helsinki by Next Games, but the other one is made by Scopely, and that's based on the graphic novel series of the IP. So we just saw Tero from Next Games, now Henry is here. We're gonna hear all about zombie IP today. So let me kick off with Andie. There's a new game coming out tomorrow called Pop Dash by Max Play. And it actually uses a major YouTube star, Lindsey Sterling, in a very deeply integrated manner. Can you talk about using YouTube stars in mobile games?
So the game is an endless runner, Pop Dash, and it's about pop culture. So you're running through an environment that's got all sorts of fun references that we would see in pop culture. And we've got lots of great music, including Katy Perry and Ariana Grande. But what we really wanted was somebody who was kind of the next generation of a music star. So we really looked to YouTube, and we found Lindsey, and she's a big gamer. She's got 6 million followers, over 1 billion views. She was really excited to do it, and so we ended up integrating her into the game as an avatar and using her as our launch partner to get Pop Dash off and running. It's coming out tomorrow, so we're really excited.
And you guys actually used PewDiePie to promote your Walking Dead game. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we did. It was a great experience. PewDiePie, I'm sure everyone knows, has over 40 million followers on YouTube. Is a great platform to get the word out about a new product. And so we engaged PewDiePie, put together a really cool video where some of the makeup artists from The Walking Dead actually came and zombified him. I think he had a lot of fun with it, and that was actually part of how we were able to engage him. We gave him something that he genuinely was interested in. These guys are brands, and they care about their brand, so giving him something that he actually loved doing was key to making that happen at the scale that we did. And it drove over 4 million views of that video, which contributed to a launch week in which we saw 4 million installs.
So Peter, tell me a little bit about using social media stars to promote games. What kind of experiences have you guys had in that?
Sure. So NativeX, we have some publishers that are work with social influencers, and it's pretty interesting just the amount of downloads that they're able to drive. I think the content has to be a good fit, but with gaming in general, I think is better than most. And we've seen some of the larger social influencers be able to drive upwards of 50,000 installs in a day for some of our advertisers. So there's some interesting scale there.
So Andie, I'm not going to ask about Lindsey. She's a megastar. She has like 1 billion YouTube views. But let's talk about like a hypothetical case where you have a YouTube star with, let's say 500,000 fans and maybe 100 million video views. How much would using somebody like that cost, and what would the deal look like?
Well, of course, the answer with music is always it depends. But I don't think you want to overpay somebody with a good but not massive audience. I mean, really what you want is somebody who wants to be a part of your game and who wants to be socially invested. So I'm not even sure I would consider paying them money up front as much as I would giving them incentive on the back end. And it doesn't have to be some stupid deal that your finances fall over on the back end if you have a huge hit. So you've really got to find somebody who really wants to be in the game, because no amount of money at the end of the day is going to get an artist to really embrace your game if they're not going to do it. And on the other hand, it's like if they're going to do it, they're going to do it well if they want to do it. So you've really got to find a good partnership. Otherwise, you're going to be pushing sand uphill.
So PopDash has an unusually deep integration of the character because Lindsay runs in the game, she has outfits, different violins, I guess. Do you think that that's what appeals to like a YouTube personality, the fact that he or she can have like a really integral role in the game itself?
Yeah, well, sort of an aside to that, but something very similar is that the reason why Lindsay really works in games, and this is something I deal with all the time with game developers who want to use an artist as an avatar in their game. And I'll say to them, look at, a lot of times it's an EDM artist. Unless you're talking about Lindsey Sterling or you're talking about Deadmau5 or somebody who's really distinct looking, like Skrillex, you put up any other artist as an avatar and they're going to look like another white guy or another, blonde girl. There's nothing distinguishing about them, so why would you have them in the game? What's really great about Lindsay is that she's got such a brand, and it's really easily recognizable the minute you see it in an avatar character. She's got the violin, and that's really unique. So you really need something that's got a unique sense about it so that the minute somebody sees it, they go, that's Lindsey Sterling. What's this? Oh, it's an Endless Runner. Oh, that's interesting. Look at all this great music that's in there. And it really, it's a snap decision. It's not something you have to explain.
Right. So, Henry, what's better, getting one big YouTube star or 10 small ones?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. When we worked with PewDiePie, we actually engaged him through Maker Studios, which is an MCN based in Los Angeles, where we're based as well. And along with PewDiePie, we actually worked with a handful of other influencers. And what was surprising, though, when you look back on it, it really shouldn't be, was that the installs driven by the smaller influencers who maybe had 100,000 subscribers, not 40 million, were actually much stronger. I think about my own personal taste and how I evangelize different forms of content. Maybe music, for example, is a good one to point to. When you love that indie band, you're telling your friends about it and you really care. And so I think going back to what Andie was saying, authenticity is just so important. So I think it's important to do both if you can. You get tremendous scale from working with someone like PewDiePie, but you can't really do what these influencers do and engage audiences in the way that they do over time with the new products. So tapping into people who actually have that passionate fan base in place and are speaking directly to them and have built up that trust over many, many months, if not years, it's super valuable, even if the audience isn't big.
So Scopely is known for really kind of front-loading the marketing effort. In the first week, you try to drive as many users as possible and get as high on the charts as possible. Can you talk a little bit about that philosophy?
Sure, yeah. I think in the old days, it was called a burst campaign. It's a little bit of a dirty word now because many games that did that didn't always sustain the momentum that they had. What we call it now is launch momentum. And we really do believe in it. I think there are many publishers, developers out there who look at IP as something that's going to help get featuring and increase organic installs, and that is your marketing. We sort of look at it as a force multiplier. So the way that we take a game to market is very costly. It's very time-consuming, but we really want to make a cultural event around launches. It's taking a cue from Hollywood, where we're based, and really trying to get something out into the market that people are talking about and that people are telling their friends about, because the number one way that people are finding out about games, regardless of how you're marketing it, is going to be word of mouth, and that's where your best users are going to come from. So you only have one chance to launch it. You only have one chance to get that big feature or the really prominent feature that you're going to get, hopefully, from the platforms, and we really want to milk that for everything it's worth and put everything behind it whenever possible.
So Peter, let's talk a little bit about these new formats of video advertising. What kind of ways of embedding video or utilizing video ads is working right now? What's hot today?
Sure. Well, in general, in games, rewarded video is king, obviously. What we're seeing is more so rewarded video placements that are rewarding users with something other than just virtual currency. So something like Temple Run, you get a revival for watching a video. There's many cases, multipliers or something that's just not quite direct currency. So I think the big difference too, that what we're seeing making a difference is actually designing the games with ads in mind, rather than just bolting them on. And so I think that's a trend that's happening, and you can really see in the performance of how they monetize those types of games. So.
You see a lot of game companies now really investing in promoting the expansions or so updates of the game, so that those turn into mini events on their own. Have you seen that happening? What's your kind of like a take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a little bit of it. I mean, I don't know how prevalent it is just yet, but I think people are definitely trying to find ways that they can, re-engage their audience with techniques like this. Yeah.
So Andy, let me ask you about old school music licensing. Let's talk about a big hit. Let's talk about some #1 80s song, Everybody Wang Chang Tonight. I mean, how expensive, difficult would it be to get bona fide #1 song and use it in a game?
Well, I mean, Pop Dash, we have the huge #1 songs.
Right.
Ariana Grande, we've got Katy Perry, Meghan Trainor, the Chainsmokers, we've got everybody. But we had to make a deal that made sense. I can't speak to what your game is doing, but I would only encourage people to use music in their games that's licensed music if it's crucial. And I just say this, taking myself out of business, because getting music licensing done is horrible. And it's a really expensive process, and it's very complicated rights. So unless you have to have that song, find something else, or find something that is stock that you can do it, or unless you know the band. But it's sort of what Henry was saying. You're better off going to a smaller band with a more core audience who are really excited to give you their music, probably for nothing.
Right.
But then activate their fan base. That's a much better idea than trying to get a huge artist who's got 5 different writers on it with 110% of the publishing and none of it's clearable. I mean, that's really sort of what you want. With Pop Dash, I do this for a living, and it's very much my baby. So it's like I can call all my friends, but I can't do that for all the indie developers here. So in general, I would say avoid doing it on a third-party level unless you know a way to get to the band and you really think it's core. Do it that way.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think we're out of time, but I really appreciated you guys attending, and thank you guys
Tero.
for listening.
Thank you, Tero.
Thanks.
This was great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.